Hi and welcome back to Plastic Models by a Regular Dude and part 6 of the Plastic Models for Beginners series. This time the Tamiya 1/35 scale M3A1 Scout Car. So, and just as a recap, in part 5 I did 22, 23, and 24, which was the machine guns. So in 25 we start on figures. So real quick before I get there, what I plan on doing is I'm going to build a couple of figures, get those ready to go, then I'm going to prime everything at once. That way I don't have to do it in 2 sessions. Another thing I need to do before I get cracking on the figures, I need to do these ammo boxes, because there's supposed to be ammo boxes inside, just, you know, stacked up and ready to go for combat. So I'm going to put those together real quick. So basically, we've got 2 each of parts 7 and 8, and then some lids. So just like I've been doing on the other videos, and I'm sure you people that have been watching my videos are getting tired of hearing this, but it's just for anybody that, you know, is just joining in to watch. I'll demonstrate how I cut off and clean parts in the first few segments of this video, and then I will just do the rest of the time off camera. So I cut the parts off, then I just take my extra awesome Tamiya sprue cutter nipper type thing and cut the sprue gate off as close as I can, which makes it a lot easier for cleanup. And then at that point I can ascertain if I need to further trim it with a knife or if I can sand it. In this case, there's a little bit, oh, not really. So then once I clean them up, put them together like this. It's got pins and holes in there to align it, and then it's got a little bit of play in it, so I use Tamiya extra thin on the inside, squeeze it together, make sure it's all lined up on the outside like that, and then I'll let that dry, and I'll do further cleanup on it with you know, do some seam cleanup with the edge of my hobby knife blade. So I'll just have the lid ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and do these and these off camera now that you've seen how I do it, and we'll come back and we'll be ready to start working on the figures. Okay, I got the ammo boxes done. So what I'm going to do, just to make life easy, I am going to glue them in here. I'll just paint it all at once, just like I glued the shovels and all that stuff on there. I normally don't do this kind of thing with detail type stuff, but because of where it's located on the vehicle, I think it'll be fine. So just to make things easy whenever it comes to priming and painting, less parts I have to deal with separately, the better. Alright, so there's that. Alright, so let's take a look at the first figure, which is the driver. So the driver is E and then all the numbers. So E is these sections right here. So let's go ahead and cut this bloke off. Alright, so they're cut off. Now it comes time to clean them up. Now I have to say, this is kind of a trip. I've never seen this on a Tamiya figure before, but these sprue gates are huge. So they may take a little bit of work. Excuse me. To clean up. Wow, that came out of nowhere. So I'm gonna work on this a little bit, and I'm gonna first what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut these off. And then I'll come back and clean it up with the knife and or files. But just my initial impressions of the figures, they're really good. There is a very slight seam right here, but that looks more like the seam. Yeah, that's not the mold seam. The mold seam is back here and on the front. These right here are like the seam of the fabric or the material of the trousers here. So the detail on them is actually really good. And the way in which this thing is molded together seems kind of cool, but I'll reserve judgment. I mean, I got a figure set recently from Mini Art that looked really good until I started putting together, and I discovered a whole lot more flash and seam lines and stuff. So I'm going to clean these up a little bit and then come back. Alright, so I've already glued the legs together, and it's kind of cool because the way these guys are set up, there's like a tab and a slot there to help you line it up, and then there's a little notch there that fits into, so it helps you line that up. You know, it's not perfect, it's not like super positive connection, but it helps you line it up a little bit better so you can get the optimum position, I guess, for him to be driving the vehicle, be fitting in the seat. So I'm just going to do like I normally do. Just take my cement. Whoa. And make sure he's lined up. There's not much contact between the parts, so you gotta careful. There we go. Yeah, it fits together really good. Put a little bit more here. Okay. Let that set up for a second. Now, the guy's helmet, it's the same thing. It's got a little tab in there and a notch right there, so you can make sure you get it positioned properly there. So I'm going to go ahead and put this part on. Let's check this. Alright, and then the arms, they're set up the same way. There's like a right angle, I won't say extrusion, but protrusion, and then a matching indentation on the arm there. So what I'm going to do, put some cement in there like that. Put his arm, whoa. Put his arm on and make sure it's pressed on there really good. Be interesting to see how it looks after I prime it with that right there. I think I got it cleaned up good, but it's hard to tell. But it's nice to have these like little locators on it, because then that way you get the part exactly where it needs to go. Theoretically, on the steering wheel and the gear shift. Okay, same thing on this one. So that looks good. All right, and then further with the head, you have to glue the sides of the helmet on, and yeah, that fits really good. Wow, that looks sweet, man. Put a little bit there. See, this one, in comparison to that mini art set, there was some multi-part headwear, and some of them were just really kind of a bummer. And then we've got this one here, same thing. Wow, that's cool. That. So let's let that dry for a minute. So what I think I'm going to do with this guy here, in order to make it easier to paint his face, I am going to I'm going to drill a hole in the bottom of his neck and put his noggin on a stake. So to make it a little bit easier to paint it. So let's get this in here. The old handy dandy pin vise. All right, there, his noggin is on there. So now I think I am ready to start with the primer. Okay, got everything prepped here. Got these parts stuck on that. Got all this stuff stuck on twigs and pegs and clips and stuff. So, got the Style Res Gray all stirred and shaken using the Iwata HP M2 single action airbrush and a glove. So let us begin. All right. Alright, so now everything is primed with Stynylrez Gray primer. And yeah, so now I'll let this cure for a while, and then I can start doing some painting. Alright, first color I'm going to use is XF85 Rubber Black for the tires. So, get my handy dandy glove here so I don't get black stuff all over my phalanges. Test it out, and then because my plan is paint this black and then mask it off and paint the base color. Paint it 2 directions so I make sure I get the tread pattern. Okay, so the next thing I need to do, whoops, I better get up here so you can see what I'm doing. And I've showed this in other videos before, but again, I'm just doing this because somebody may not have seen it, and since this is a beginner's video, which it doesn't seem to be very much a beginner's video anymore, I'm going to show you how I make masks for wheels. You know, I have in the past, and I still do sometimes. I'll paint the hub, rim, all that stuff. I'll paint that the base color, and then I'll hand paint the tire portion. I didn't feel like doing it this time, and I thought it'd be a good way to demonstrate this. And again, I know I've done it before, but for those who haven't seen it, you know, this may be something new for you. But what I have here is, it says Punch Umimoto, Japan. And what it is it's just like a compass type deal. It's got a pin here and a blade here. And you use this, you loosen it and slide it back and forth, and make your circle template. So generally what I do is I use, just to get an idea of what size I need, I'll use this caliper here, and I'll measure it just to get a rough idea. And this is about 17 millimeters, the rim portion. So what I'll do is I'll measure it out and set my compass, you know, at roughly that dimension. Not all the time does it, you know, come out exactly. And then I just I cut a circle, and all I do is just put it on here like this. Let me see if you're in frame. Yeah. And give it a spin like this. And I'll do it a couple of times, sometimes more. But you can hear it cutting the tape. You may not be able to, but I can hear it cutting the tape. And as soon as I don't hear it cutting the tape anymore, then I know it's through. So then I just take my X-Acto knife and I just roughly get my shape out, and then I pull it off like this, and there I go. Then all I have to do is just line it up on the rim Sometimes it takes a couple of tries. And if it's the right size, then I just mash it into place and I'm ready to go. Now if it's too small or too large, I'll adjust it and try it. Sometimes it takes a couple of tries until I get it the size I want. So that's all there is to it. So I'm going to cut a couple more for the other wheels, and then I can start painting the base color. Okay, so I'm getting ready to paint the base color, but I'm going to show you something that I'm going to do. The last few times I've painted anything olive drab, which is Tamiya XF62, that's the olive drab I use, it seemed a little dark, especially once I started working with, you know, like if I did a clear coat on it for some reason, and then once I started doing some of the weathering, it seems to darken up even more. So this time I'm going to try something. Well, I'm not going to try something different. I've done it before, and I don't know why I stopped, because it works for me anyway. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to mix up a lighter color of olive drab, and the way I'm going to do it is, first I'm going to find my droppers here. I'm going to use some olive drab, and let's see how much I'm going to get out here. 20 milliliters or whatever these increments are. Okay, I got 20 of that. And then I'm gonna try 10. I think those are milliliters. For sure. It says ml on there. What else could it mean? XF60 dark yellow. And the reason I'm using that instead of a white or something like that is because if you use white, it makes it turn gray. Makes your olive drab kind of grayish looking, and you don't want that. So I've got 20 parts or 20 milliliters of XF62, and now 10 of XF60. All right, now I'm going to take my mixing stick here, mix that up, see how it looks. Now, my good friend Ben Brandis, he does this to good effect, but he uses, I think he said he used XF4, which is yellow green, and I may try that after I try this. I just remembered, as a matter of fact, because I looked up and saw my bottle of yellow green there. Okay, but that looks pretty good though. I like that. I think that'll work. So and here you can kind of see the difference. Well, kind of. It's on a paper towel, so it's not that great, but this is OD and this is it with the yellow. So I may even mix up some more with that lighter yellow, but we'll see. So then I want to add some I can find my correct, there we go. I'm going to add some X20A to that. So we got, let's see, that's 13, let's see. So I got 30 milliliters, so I'm going to go with 15 of thinner. That way it should be thin enough for me to spray. So what my plan is I'm going to spray this thing with, I'm going to spray this vehicle with the XF62 first. And then I'm going to go pretty much on the outside, like the upper surfaces especially, with the lighter color, just to kind of, I guess, create kind of a modulation type effect. You know, lighter color up above. I've just found that recently or lately the XF62 is just a little bit dark for my taste, even though it's supposed to be like the closest, or so I've heard from some experts, that it's the closest to real olive drab. So anyway, all right, so we got that mixed up. So now let's get some good old XF62, some thinner, and start spraying this business. All right, here we go. Here we go. All right, so let's do the dashboard first. Kind of move on like I did the last time. You may be wondering why I'm spraying this machine gun this color. Well, because all the mounts and stuff are supposed to be this color, and I'll just paint the machine gun itself with machine gun color. There is method to my madness. Ammo boxes, all that. It's supposed to be this color. That's why I am doing it. Alright, so I've got it all painted. So now I'm going to let it sit and cure really well, and then we'll come back and do some of the highlight colors. Alright, so now it's had time to dry. So now I'm going to hit it with my light green, my light olive drab mixture. Put a little bit in there. Let's take a look, see what it looks like. I'll spray just a little bit on the bottom here, since this is not going to be seen. See what it looks like. Yeah. Yeah, it looks pretty good. So again, get my glove. Don't get any green stuff all over my hand. And get cracking. I'm mainly hitting the upper surfaces. Just to lighten it up. Yeah, I like that color. That's pretty good. I'm digging it. I'm digging it. Huh. Yeah, I like it. Looking good. Now, not as much, but I am going to hit the sides a little bit. Just to break up the just to break it up a bit. Then hit the high parts of the wheels. Like that. Do the top of that. And let's see, do I need to do anything else? Maybe a little bit on the floor. top of that there track. And I think that looks pretty good. I think I'm going to go with that. So there's that. So let me clean this airbrush out. All right, the next thing I want to do is I want to start painting the detail stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Vallejo Model Color Khaki to paint the cushions on these things. From the looks of it, it was some kind of a canvas or something. So let's put that in there like that. Then we'll take a brush. Let's go with this one here. Mix some distilled water in it to thin it up a little bit and get going. Now it looks like the back of this had some kind of framework screwed on over top of the canvas or something. So the back won't be painted this color. Okay, got all the seats done. Now I also need to do the decals, so I think I'm going to go ahead and do those right now. But I got to find them first. Okay, so 22 and 23 are the decals, and they go in numerical order. So 22 on this side, 23 on this side. Then I also have to paint the details on the dashboard. So here is 22. Whoops. Let me get my decal water out here. So we got 22. Put that in the water, and then let's get the micro set and the micro sol. See how that works this time. I forgot when I had my khaki out that I need to paint that, and that, but I'll do that here directly. I'll do these first, so that way they can be trying and getting all groovy. don't know if I've said it before, but this is whenever my desk starts getting to be a mess. This is whenever I'm doing painting and decals. Let that go a little bit more. Okay, so that is softened up, so let's get some micro set in there. It's supposed to help with adhesion. And let's see, I'll use this right here. Get a Q-tip. So let's make sure that's centered in there. Now, nice thing about Tamiya decals, they're so bleeding thick, it's kind of hard to mess them up. So that's not going to stick very good. So let's get some microsol and put in there and see if that'll snuggle it down. Okay, so we'll let that one do its thing. Get number 23 here. All right, so the next one, we got me a better applicator thingy here in the form of a Q-tip or cocktail stick, depending on where you are in the world. Get that one centered up. Get some good old sol on there. Put a drop of that and let that do its thing. All right, so now I mixed up some more khaki. And I'm painting these things that I forgot to paint earlier. Get a little bit on the back, but when I do my pin wash, it'll take care of that. This is one of those parts I could have painted separately and glued it in after the fact, but I didn't, because I wanted to try and build it all in one piece, and come back in and paint the details. And for the most part, it's working. Alright, next up I'm going to paint the tools, starting with the handles. For that I'm going to use Iraq Wheel Sand, a new addition to my paint lineup. Alright, now I'm going to paint the heads of the tools, and the machine guns, and for that I'm using Vallejo Metal Color Steel. I'm not going to tilt it because the lid's off. And tip of the day when using metallics, have a dedicated metallic brush, because they're kind of hard to clean thoroughly. I mean, you can, but it's not as simple as just dipping it in water and cleaning it off. That way you don't contaminate other colors, but you don't want any metallic flakes in. Okay. Now, really, kind of cutting a corner here, because normally I really should be painting these black and then simulating some worn down steel effect on it. But I'm not doing that on this one because I'm trying to keep it kind of somewhat simple, because those kind of techniques I'll go over in a later video. I don't want to run out of subject matter for my beginner series too soon. So after the tool painting, I gotta paint the machine guns. I'm doing the same thing. One of these days, I'm going to figure out a good way to simulate parkerizing, because that should be the way I would be painting this, because these things were parked. So I got to do this one and the 30 cal. And whenever these things are painted, you can even see the detail even better. These really are some pretty nice machine guns for non-aftermarket stuff. They look really good. And there we go. So those are done. So we'll get this paintbrush cleaned up. And I think I'll be ready for a clear coat. All right, so next thing, I need to paint these straps on these fuel cans and on these things here. And for that, I'm going to use Russian uniform, World War II, because it's a different green than the yellow drab. That is pure science there, people. So first, I need to clean this spout out and then put a drop right there like that. Yeah, that's a good color. That's gonna work good. So I'll use my handy dandy brush here, get it mixed up to where it's a little thinner. And ever so carefully paint the straps. This is kind of good because this is the color I want to use for the uniforms. And this is a good way I can see what color it is, and it looks pretty good. Now, I should have painted those before I put the handles on. However, I didn't, so I'm out of luck. So I'm just gonna have to make do. So that looks pretty good. So now I need to do the same thing with these. I'm going to get a smaller brush for that. Those are pretty small. And there you have it. So I think that color is going to be pretty good for the uniforms because just different enough from the other stuff that it won't look too monochromatic. So once that dries, the next thing I'm going to do is shoot this thing with a bit of clear. Actually, before I shoot a clear, I think I'm going to go ahead and do the decals. So what I need, since I'm doing this East Germany thing here, can't remember what I said I was going to do at first, but I really don't want that one really huge decal on this side. I kind of like these here because it's got some color going on it. So that's the one I'm going to do. So what I need first, let me cut out 17, 21, 18, and 18. So I'm going to cut those out on here. All right, so first let's get KM, which is the first one going left to right. And it will go on the door right there. So let's get that one softened up. All right, so first I need some micro set. This one goes right about here. some of you are probably watching this thinking that I am committing heresy here by not putting a clear coat on before I put my decals. But I am one of those wacky dudes that doesn't think that it is absolutely necessary to have a clear coat to put decals down. And I will show that in this video. So real quick, like, I also want to talk a little bit about silvering. Okay, we've all heard about silvering, but I think sometimes there is some confusion as to what silvering actually is. Sometimes I think people get decal film or decal carrier, whatever you want to call it, that's around the print. They confuse that and call that silvering, when that is not the case. That's just the film that is visible because of it being a different sheen than the paint around it. Hence why so many people put a clear coat on after the decals, sometimes as well as before. They put decals on to make the sheen of the decal match the sheen of the vehicle, and that's what I plan on doing. So that is not silvering. People say, how do you get rid of silvering? And people think one of two things, either that or what silvering really is, which is trapped air underneath the decal, or just the decal not adhering properly. It's not stuck to the model, the paint, and it's lifted a little bit, whether it be in the middle where there's an air bubble or on the edge where it just doesn't stick. It can happen, especially with older decals. They just don't stick that great, and that is actually silvering. So that's just a little bit of, you know, nomenclature clarification in case anybody was wondering, because most people would look at this and say, oh, you got silvering on that there decal. Well, no, I don't. That's just the old decal film, and that's a normal thing. See, this is why I'm going with this marking option. I like the splash of color there. Soviets had some really colorful decorations and markings, so I thought, you know what, that's what I'm going to use. It's going to break up the monotony of the coloring here. Instead of it just being on all white something, got this awesome yellow and red going on here. Now, if I were to leave this decal like it is, you may not be able to see it on camera, but there would be a case of silvering. Because right in the middle there, there's like an air pocket. You just can't see it because the, whoa, this hasn't dried yet. Oh man, sometimes it moves too far. There we go. Okay, so I need to kind of swing the bottom end of this around a little bit, just like that. But by using a Q-tip or cotton bud, depending on your part of the world, you can smash that down flat. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put all these decals on, then I'm going to put some microsol just to stick it a little bit better, and then I can put my clear coat on it after it dries really well. So let's get this here, number 3, that goes with this one. We'll put that on. So I'll demonstrate this whole side doing the decals, and then I'll do the other side off camera. And so I got that 3 on. So now I'm going to put the other one on. And what I do is using the decal diagram, I use surrounding details to help locate it. So in this case, you have these footman loops here. So the top edge of this 3 seems to be in line with the bottom edge of these footman loops right here. Then the back part of this seems to be lined up with these 2 screws or rivets, whatever they are. So that's going to be my locating points to get it into position as close as I can, which isn't always exact, but it's pretty close. So let's see if this decal is ready to slide off yet. Not yet. All right, so this one is ready to go. So once again, a little bit of micro set. Now another reason I like doing this on a flat is you don't have as much trouble with surface tension puddling up your decal fluids. And I don't always do it like this. You know, sometimes I do, sometimes I'm lazy, and sometimes I just, you know, I clear it first. It just depends. It's not necessary, but it's not a bad thing either. So just depends on the way I think about doing it. Oh, crikey, that's dead on. That's right where I wanted it. So I'll just wipe that off like that. All right, so we'll let that side dry, and I'll go ahead and do the other side off camera, and then I should be ready to do a clear coat. Okay, now they're all on there, so I will now put some microsol on them. Probably not really necessary, but I'm going to do it anyway just to make sure they stick really good, because they're not resting on any detail, so I don't have to worry about them, you know, melting into that detail. So it's just kind of help them stick a little bit better, I guess. Just following the instructions on the bottle. So there we go. So there's that. So let me let that dry a little bit. Then I'm going to do a clear coat on here. All right. So this had time to dry. So now it is time to spray some clear. So first thing I need to do is I need to take my masks off of my wheels so they're ready to go. Like this, and as you can see, it turned out pretty dandy. Pretty stoked. And I really like this XF85 rubber black. It's a very good color for spraying tires. So I'm going to be using Model Master, not gloss. Got the wrong bottle. Semi-gloss. Semi-gloss clear. Actually, you know what? I'm going to use gloss. Just for the simple reason it'll make the wash really easy. Yep, that's what I'm going to do. Gloss. Gloss clear. And then I'll do semi-gloss later. Alrighty then, let's see what we got here. Basically what I've done here is I've used 5 milliliters of what do you call it? thinner, and the thinner I used was the Ultimate Airbrush Thinner, and then I used 10 milliliters of this. So I may have to mix up some more, but that's okay. That will, hopefully I'll have enough here to do all this. If not, then I'm gonna have to mix up some more, and that'll make me sad, but hey, sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. I'm not gonna focus as much on the underside as I did with the paint and everything, because not much is gonna be going on underneath there except for a bunch of dust and stuff like that, so it's not going to need all of the pin washes and stuff like that as much. I'm going to focus mainly on the exterior and interior details. Now I don't know if you can see this, but this is darkening up the paint a little bit. Which is why I did the lightening of the color, because I knew this was going to happen. I discovered, much to my chagrin, last time I did a model in this color. It darkened it up quite a bit, and I ended up having to do some post clear coat damage control. Now another thing this is going to do, hopefully, is help fill in around the edge of the decals and get the decal film to be not quite so pronounced. So let's see, how am I going to do this? Also, it will help with my initial pin wash. That is one thing that just drives me insane with Tamiya paints, is it's so flat. Pin washes pretty much just absorb into the flat surface and don't flow very well. Now other people may not have that trouble. Some people do like the whole blending thing. I don't like doing that because I just can't seem to pull it off. It looks like I'm going to run out, but I'm going to run out after doing the exterior. So I will be fine in mixing up another batch later once this is dry to do the interior. So I should be good. So I'll just empty this out underneath here just to use it up, so there's less to have to clean up. Now I got some weird discoloration going on right there. I think there's going to be a big old splash of mud going on there. Don't know what that's from. Okay, so that's empty. So let me clean this up. Okay, I've got the clear on. So the next thing I'm going to do before I start wrapping up this particular video. So I'm going to glue the instrument panel in place, dashboard instrument panel. I'm not building an airplane. Glue that in place. And let's see. Okay, so it fits in there pretty easily. So I think in order to make it easy, I'm going to use a little bit of this here super glue. Just going to put a dab on each end. I hope I get a position before it dries. There and there. And yes, I'm shaking like crazy because I just had some coffee a little while ago. See what happens? Don't drink coffee when you build models. Although it normally doesn't affect me like this. Today, I'm just as jittery as a cat on a hot tin roof. It's a pretty good one. Okay, so let's put it. Oh yeah, that went in there fairly easily. So we'll push that into place. Okay, so now I need to glue the steering wheel into place. Now I may regret this because I should probably do that after I get the driver in place, but I'm not going to do that. So using a piece of wire, I got to get this little bit of stuff out of here. One of the problems of using this stuff sometimes. All right, so I got that. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to use, here's super glue, Loctite brand super glue, no less. Let's squish that into place. So let's see here. Hold it like that. Put it in place like that. So that was actually pretty easy, much easier than I thought it was going to be, as I probably knock it off. Well, cool, there we go. All right, so that's that. So, okay, let's take a look here. I think that is pretty much it. That'll fit on there. This one will fit here. This vehicle's just bristling with weapons. Cool. So I still have to detail paint the ammunition there, but I can do that later. So I think that will be it for this video, because in the next one, what I'll do is I will start applying the I'll apply my pin wash. Once I do the pin wash, then I can spray my dull coat. And once I do that, I can actually start weathering this. So I also need to start working on this guy here, but I think I will wait until the next video. So yeah, I think that's gonna wrap this one up. So yeah, this is the end of part 6, Plastic Models for Beginners, M3A1 Scout Car by Tamiya in World War II Soviet markings. So as always, thanks for following along, and I apologize if these videos start seeming kind of sketchy or disjointed, but when it gets to the final where I'm doing clears and decals and weathering and stuff, I start getting crazy a little bit, because you know, things start changing, and I'm just not as adept at videoing those as if I'm adept at videoing the assembly parts. But anyway, that's that. This is it for this part. So as always, thanks for watching Plastic Models by a Regular Dude. If you have any questions, comments, hints, tips, concerns, any of that kind of stuff, put them in the comments section down below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. So until next time, for part 7, I will see you all later.